In today's Necron Tier List video, we are going to look at the best Necron heavy supports choices for 2022. And it's coming right up.
Necrons!
Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, here we go. We're going to look at the heavy supports choices in the Necron Codex. We're going to find out what is the top 3 units. Now we have 5 choices in the heavy support slot. So there's the Annihilation Barge, the Doomstalker, the Doomsday Ark, the Locust Destroyers, and the Locust Heavy Destroyers. And I am going to rule out the Annihilation Barge first. Now the Annihilation Barge is playable. It's got a reasonable amount of shots. However, it's quite unusual as a heavy support because the guns aren't that hard hitting. They're generally better at killing infantry. They can do some damage on toughness 6 vehicles, but as soon as you go to toughness 7 or even toughness 8, well, they don't cut the mustard. And of course, there's lack of AP and there's lack of damage. Yes, they are Tesla, very nice, but they're at the bottom of the list for heavy support, so let's cross them out. Okay, so now we're going to start having to make tough choices, and I think a lot of the choices that we make here will be dependent on your list, potentially your play style, and also maybe what you're up against, especially if you're playing a regular opponent. So I'm going to cross out the Locust Destroyers. Now this is reluctantly, but we are in the heavy support slot. Locust Destroyers are definitely playable. Actually, I've got a list where I use 2 units of them. Really nice, and the great thing about them is you can upgrade one of them to a heavy destroyer, giving you that nice big gun as well as the smaller guns, and there's a good amount of shots. You do have the Extermination Protocol Stratagem, although yes, it is 2 CPs. It's not as good as it used to be, but it's definitely usable. And of course they are core as well. You could get them My Will Be Done. They've got the reroll to hit. You could potentially have a Destroyer Lord with them as well, giving you the extra rerolls. But I think all in all, as we're after some big guns in the heavy support slot. I mean, it's heavy supports. This should be big guns. Yes, the destroyers do the job. The damage is reasonable, and they can have the heavy destroyer mixed with them, so they can do the role. But I need to whittle these down to a top 3, so they're off the list. So on to the top 3 units, and well, these 3 units have been up and down the list like a yo-yo recently. I think at the moment we have a clear-cut winner, but we're going to discuss them anyway. In third place we've got the Canoptic Doomstalker. The Doomstalker has a 4+ invulnerable save, really nice. It has some Overwatch buffing abilities, toughness 6 with 12 wounds, so it is pretty survivable, especially with that 3+ save and a 4+ invulnerable save, and of course it has living metal. It's got a decent gun, although we already know this. Big Necron guns are very random, D6 shots, D6 damage, not a good place for our big guns. And it only has a ballistic skill of 4. So, well, ideally you need to babysit these with a Technomancer, which means you're not going to just have one and then take a Technomancer to babysit him for the +1 to hit. You're going to take at least 2 Doomstalkers, probably 3 to make full use of your Technomancer, because you want these guys hitting on 3s ideally, especially if you've got a lot of dense cover around, because that's -1 to hit. So if you don't have the Technomancer, you're going to be hitting on 5s, and with the amount of random shots that you have, well, that's not great. The plus point to the Doomstalker is the amount of points that it is, because it's actually pretty reasonably pointed now, just 130 points. That isn't bad, and if you do need to just slot in one heavy support choice in a smaller points game, even though it's only got that ballistic skill of 4, it's quite a nice survivable big gun to have at the back of your army. Certainly not unplayable. So that moves us up to second place, and in second place we've got the Doomsday Ark. So I don't think there was too many surprises here, because well, our clear-cut winner has jumped up the league quite a bit recently. But first, let's quickly discuss the Doomsday Arc. So you do have the 5+ invulnerable save with this guy, and for 1 CP you can make that into a 4+ save. And of course it's got quantum shielding, really nice. Living metal, you've got a good amount of wounds. There's not too much wrong with the Doomsday Arc, with the exception that you have to stand still to shoot the gun. And in 9th edition, there's a lot of terrain around. Sometimes it can be difficult to get that gun shooting at stuff. You can move it and shoot, obviously, at the lower powered. And of course, you've got the Gauss flayers on there as well, which is a great secondary gun to have. It has the usual Necron big gun issue, D6 shots, D6 damage. Now, it is 30 points more expensive than the Canoptic Doomstalker. However, the quantum shielding makes up for that, along with the fact that it shoots on 3, so you don't need to babysit this unit. And lastly, it has the fly keyword, easier to move. Not that you want to be moving it too much, but if you do need to move it, it's easier to move. It moves more distance than the Doomstalker, and it's got 2 extra wounds, 14 wounds. And that's why it's in 2nd position. However, in 1st place we've got the Locust Heavy Destroyers. At 55 points a model, these guys at the moment are definitely their best heavy support choice that we have. They have the fly keyword, they can move and shoot their heavy weapons. We have 2 gun options, both at 36 inches, either 3 D3 shots at strength 7 -1 blast with 1 damage. A good gun, but it's not really a heavy gun, is it? The gun of choice is the Gauss Destructor. So this is just 1 shot, but it's strength 10 -4 AP, and they do 3 D3 damage. That's a minimum of 3 damage. None of this D6 randomness. What the hell is that all about, Games Workshop? This is what we need on our big gun. Some more reliable damage. They shoot on 3s. You can re-roll the 1s. We've got the Destroyer Lord option if we want it. They are core as well, and we've got extermination protocols if you should want to use 2 CPs on re-rolling the wounds. Unlikely. You'll be better off using the techno-ocular targeting auto wound stratagem if you really want that damage to go through. They have RP, and now with the core keyword, of course, you can use a Technomancer to try to regenerate them, and they have living metal. Now, the only drawback with these guys, they can be quite fragile, more fragile than probably a Doomstalker or indeed the Doomsday Arc. They don't have an invulnerable save. Yes, you could put a Chronomancer with them, give them a 5+ invulnerable save. It's an option. But I do find that if these guys are targeted, they can go down quite quickly. Your best bet is to hide these guys behind terrain, allowing you to come out on your turn and shoot your guns, make the most of your guns, because if they are targeted, the chances are they probably will go down. And that's why I don't tend to use the Chronomancer or Technomancer with them. They are infantry, they can do actions. You could use the command protocol to do an action and still shoot. That is an option. All in all, mainly because of the more reliable gun, these guys are at the top of the list. However, what do you think? Let me know in the comments box below. And if you want to see more videos like this, here is the playlist for you to check out.